What's going on, YouTube? Today we are headed to do a valve cover gasket replacement on a Toyota Solara. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing a valve cover gasket replacement on a Toyota Solara. And I don't remember what year this one is. I will put that in the title though. I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple tools here and we'll get started. Alright, so on this valve cover gasket, first thing we want to do is get this engine cover off. It's going to be two 10mm bolts, or nuts rather. Okay. Lift that up, and my God, that thing is leaking big time. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, I actually just did one of these a few days ago too. There's a little clip here, or a clamp rather, on this hose. So we want to go ahead and move that back if possible. And then pull on the hose and it should slide out just like that. Okay, and we also have this hose right here that we need to take off, so I'm going to go ahead and get some pliers for that clamp. Okay, so now that we got that clamp off, we can kind of twist this off. I like to take this other clamp off here on the other side as well. I know you guys can't see that, but it connects up to the side of the air box here. So it'll come off on that side a bit easier. And then you can kind of work it off, being careful not to break it, of course. Yeah, this thing, that's definitely going to take some convincing. I'm going to get another tool here. Soak it up a little with this stuff. Maybe it'll loosen the rubber. And we'll get us some hose pliers here. Try to get it off that way by grabbing and pushing. That may not work either. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, nope. Just broke the damn hose right off. Excellent. That's what happens when hoses are old and brittle. They just break. Hopefully we can get that back on there without causing an issue. So I definitely don't have one of those on me. I might have something actually. We'll have to see. But anyway, now that we've got that off, don't worry about breaking it yourself. A piece of hose at the parts store is like $5 or $6. Worst case scenario, you just get a new piece of hose. And that's going to happen when hoses get old. When you try to remove them, sometimes they're just going to break. So we'll go ahead and get these bolts out for the ignition coils. 4 of those, 10mm as well. Once we got those bolts out, we'll unplug them. And of course, as I go to unplug it, damn clip breaks off for the connector. So it's just another one of those damn things that happens when cars get old and brittle. Everything breaks. Yep, there's another one. Barely pushed it down. It just snapped right off. And then mechanics take the heat for this like we broke someone's car. I'm just operating the vehicle or operating the connector as it was designed to be operated, and literally every single one just snapped off. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is sometimes with this kind of stuff. There's also a 10mm bolt right here. Helps get this connector harness out of the way. And then on the other side of the valve cover here, there's a 10mm bolt that holds a bracket with this wiring harness. And there's another one down here on top of the alternator. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out now. And that'll give us a little more wiggle room on this harness here. And we'll go ahead and pull our 4 coils out. Make sure you don't lose your little gaskets or your rubber seals there. Okay. I'll move this wiring harness up here out of the way a little bit. Okay. Now we can basically just go all around the edge and get all of these 10mm bolts all the way around the outside of it. Wow, that one's super loose. Loose. Not very tight. Loose. There's also 2 in the middle. And those are going to be the longer ones. Okay. Now we get us a pry bar, and there's a little tab right over here next to the engine mount that you can stick your pry bar in, and you can pry up on the valve cover. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and pull this bad boy up. And she's off. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take us a little rag here, and we're going to clean around the edge where the valve cover gasket mates to the cylinder head here. I'm going to clean that up as good as we can. All right. Okay. So there's a couple things I want to point out. Right here you can see there's a little bit of RTV there, old RTV. You want to scrape that off, get it out of the way. And then there's a crack right here where the head and the timing cover meet. So what you want to do is put a small glob. That's probably even a little too much, honestly, but no more than that. And then there's another spot where the crack is on the back side as well. So I wanted to change the camera angle so you guys can see that. If you do not do that, there is a small chance that it could leak. Okay, so now I'm going to move you guys down here so you can see what I'm doing. Just a sec here. Okay. So this is the actual valve cover gasket. And as you can see, very, very hard and brittle. This is not hard plastic, guys. This is rubber. So, definitely needed to be replaced 100%. Hopefully we can get it out without it breaking into a million pieces. So far, so good. So that's the main part of the gasket there. And we also have the spark plug tube seals. And that's going to be the pain in the ass part right there. Man, these things are toast. There's one of them. Jeez. Okay, so we got that all out. Wow. Insane. This is definitely worse than the one I did the other day, for sure. Oh, man. If you can't get these out by hand, you can use like a little screwdriver or something. But we pretty much got the whole thing out. So now I'm going to take some brake cleaner and I'm going to clean this all up real good. Alright guys, we got this valve cover as reasonably clean as I could with some brake cleaner and a wire brush. As you can see, we've got the new gasket in place. So now we're going to go ahead and put it into position on the vehicle here. Make sure that it stays in place while you're doing this. The gasket. Okay. Okay. We're getting there. Okay. Still in place. Excellent. We'll go ahead and start putting these back in place. All these 10 millimeters from around the edges. Remember, the very long ones go in the middle. You want to make sure that you can hand tighten all of them a little bit before you start tightening any of them down fully, just to make sure that all of your bolts are lined up and threaded in properly. Okay. Alright, so I went ahead. I don't have any of the correct size hose with me, so I just taped this up real good. I don't think it's going to have any issues. So I'll go ahead and slide that bad boy on there. There we go. I do believe that that is sealed. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and clamp that bad boy on there. Come on. Okay, so we got that side on. Alright, so I ended up getting the clamp put on that hose and slid the other one back. That should do just fine for now. And then now I'm going to go ahead and tighten all the bolts around the edge. Alright, and now that we've got them all tightened up, we can kind of go around the edge and snug them up with a ratchet. Make sure you kind of alternate back and forth, do sort of a star pattern. That way you're not warping it. And just go around one more time and triple check. See, I missed one. All right. Then we got a bolt that goes here for the wiring harness. You can get it lined up. There's that one. Then we got a bolt on top of the alternator bracket for the wiring harness on the other side. And then farther up on that same harness, we have another bolt. So we'll go ahead and tighten those down now. And we'll put this hose on. Okay. We'll put our coils back in. Put our bolts in here. Hey.
Sorry to bother you.
Oh, no problem. What's up?
Do you have a Phillips screwdriver?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I'm just curious, where are my spark plugs?
They are directly under these coils here.
Okay.
Yeah. There's that for
Thank
you. No problem.
Next, that. Let's see, I think I'm gonna need those because it hasn't been changed. I've had the car for 6 years.
Oh yeah.
It runs good, but
Yeah.
it's time to change that.
Gotcha.
That'll be next thing on the menu.
Yeah, one thing I do want to let you know while you're out here, this hose here is pretty old and brittle, and it did have to come off in order to replace the valve cover gasket. And so at the edge, it kind of cracked up a little bit. So I just wrapped some electrical tape around it. I don't believe it's going to cause any sort of leak or anything, but I just wanted to let you know that I did that. And then also on these electrical connectors here, there's a little tab that you squeeze to unplug them, and it's supposed to lift the tab over this little notch there, and every single one just snapped whenever I tried to unplug it. So these are going to be plugged in, but they're not going to have, I think one of them, they're not like, how you unplug it is you push down on this, and it lifts that over the tab, and those have all snapped off. So they're plugged in, but they're not locked in, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And unfortunately, when vehicles get older and high mileage like that, that tends to happen when you start unplugging things. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be an issue because they are plugged in pretty good. But in the event that they have issues, then we may have to replace this harness here with a newer one where those are not going to snap off when you try to unplug
Okay, no
it.
problem.
But moving forward, I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I did want to let you know about
It'll probably
that
be. I'm getting everything done as soon as possible. So
Sure.
it'll probably be. I won't say next week after next.
Sure.
Somewhere in there.
No problem.
I'll be calling again for it, for another appointment.
Right on. Well, I'm getting pretty close to finished up here, so probably shouldn't be more than about 10 or 15 more minutes.
Alrighty. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Alright, so now we've got our hose on, our other hose on, all coils back in, all bolts back in, all the bolts around tightened, our 3 extra bolts put back on for those brackets and wiring harnesses. So I believe at this point we are good to go ahead and put the engine cover back on. And then there's of course 2 nuts we took off at the beginning. Go ahead and tighten those up. And then I'm going to clean off some of this oil residue here. Whew. I think that's reasonably good. Alright, and then another thing I like to do, just to kind of show that you did a good job, is kind of wipe down the engine cover a little bit, especially in this case where it had oil all over it. Man, that was crazy leak. And that's going to be the end of our Toyota Solara valve cover gasket replacement. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you liked it or if you learned something, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel for many more videos just like that. And otherwise, I will see you next time.